welcome to Green Sock's Book Review, where I plan to review a book for your delectation and delight and either convince you should read it or convince you that you're probably better off having me read it for you so you don't have to bother. So today, my book is United States of Socialism. Who's behind it? Why it's evil? How to stop it? By Dinesh D'Souza. Well, I think you can tell from the title that this is not a dispassionate analysis of anything, but a kind of a polemic. And I tried to read it, I really did. I found it very hard going. It was rather strange that somebody like me would want to read a book like that anyway. It's clearly aimed at an American audience and a fairly strongly conservative American audience, probably the sort of people who voted for Donald Trump the first time and voted for Donald Trump the second time and were convinced he should have won and had won, and they were heartbroken that he didn't win, and moreover in a huge panic for what was going to happen to the country if he's not in charge of it, which British people find really hard to understand, I have to say. Politics is politics. Politicians are politicians. They come, they go. Anyway, Dinesh has a thesis, and the thesis, as the title makes clear, is that socialism is the root of all evil and that the Democrats have espoused socialism, and this is a bad thing. Okay, well, up until I started to explore American politics in the last year or so, inspired by my hero Donald Trump, I actually had no idea what the difference was between Republicans and Democrats. So what I've been doing is scouring the internet, or let's be precise, YouTube, for educational information. And I have made some progress in that. And one of the things that led me to this book was I saw a lecture by Dinesh D'Souza in which, well, he was in a university campus lecturing students, I think, and a bunch of far left, I nearly said far right, but I'm not sure what the difference is. A bunch of far left activists marched in and started disrupting his lecture by chanting. They weren't giving reasoned arguments, they were just chanting, which seemed unnecessary to me. And he was very gracious and he gave them some very clever put downs, and eventually they left, no doubt thinking they'd done their duty and made their impression, and he carried on with his lecture. And I thought, this guy speaks well, he knows what he's talking about. I'll read his book and I will discover a lot more about where he's coming from and where people like him are coming from. So I had the book and I tried to read it. I really did try, but unfortunately it reads very much like a sociology textbook or a politics textbook or a thesis, really. But it's not written in dispassionate terms. It's written in partisan, even kind of disparaging terms about a lot of people. So, for example, here he's talking about Bernie Sanders, and apparently on his honeymoon he went to Russia, the Soviet Union, because he wanted to learn more about socialism or something. But the way he talks about Sanders rather got up my nose. Sanders took the stage and sarcastically riffed, "This is the enemy." Soon after his Soviet visit, Sanders went into Cuba. While he failed in his hope to meet Castro, he returned effusive about Cuban socialism. Waxed rhapsodic about Cuba's literacy program. Sanders shrieked his disdain for the press. "You are worms." It's giving things a bias, which I am rather irritated by. I find it difficult to follow what this guy's talking about when he drops names every few moments, names of people I generally don't know. For example, this random page. Capitalism is summed up by the infamous speech delivered by Gordon Gekko in the movie Wall Street. Well, haven't seen the movie Wall Street. Entrepreneurs are successful, according to Rutger Bregman, writing in The Guardian. Don't know him. In Bregman's view, oil drilling, pharmaceutical and tech company executives are also greedy, selfish leeches. Blah, blah, blah. The rich are more likely to be despicable characters, Charles Matthews and Evan Sandsmark write in the Washington Post. And what's more, their vast sums of money poison not only those who possess them, but even those who are merely around them. That's because, as Tyler Stanley writes in the progressive Christian magazine Sojourners, capitalism is the single most powerful tool for habit formation in Western society. So that's the sort of prose I find it really difficult to follow, because he's quoting people I don't know, and he's not giving a rationale for why what they say is right or not. And throughout the book, it emerges that what he thinks is that not only is capitalism good, but the worst excesses of capitalism, personified in Donald Trump, are good and admirable. And he cites on Donald Trump as an example of what we should all be aspiring to, or, well, clearly we can't all aspire to it. It's only open for a few individuals to amass most of the wealth, because once they've got it, then the poor little workers can't have it. And I'm not a socialist. I don't even lean to the left in any way. I mean, whenever we have an election, I vote for the middle party, the one that looks least likely to win, because I like things to be fair and I don't want any extremes. So it's not that I ideologically object to what D'Souza is suggesting. I just think he's being very partisan, and he has an agenda, and what he's saying does not reflect the reality of the world. So now he's slagging off the Democrats. The Obamas, the Clintons and the Bidens are now living the billionaire lifestyle. Warren isn't there yet, but only because she hasn't yet made it to the highest echelons of government, where there is more access to sell. These people are all political entrepreneurs for whom politics is a business. Well, that is a good point. It makes sense. I think power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That doesn't mean it's a better thing when it's practiced by capitalists than by Democrats, but what he says is, what social value have Democrats like Warren, Obama, Clinton or Biden created in exchange for the wealth they have obtained? Virtually none. Essentially, they've used their political name and office to enrich themselves. They, not entrepreneurs, are the greedy, selfish bastards. Well, if they are greedy, selfish bastards, then so are the entrepreneurs. The thing is, he's not refuting socialist ideology as such, he's just slagging off its proponents, as far as I can see. So, after all his wordiness and his name-dropping and his pejorative statements and his adulation of Trump, his inexplicable adulation of Trump, he finally gets to what he sees as the way forward in order to defeat the horrible lefties. He says, "From a distance I have to admire their commitment. We, by contrast, are committed to our family and our church and our neighbourhood, but we don't have the same all-in commitment in dominating the country that they do. So we must develop it. This is not an option. It is a requirement for our moral and personal survival. We have to change our ways in order to make them change their ways. If we don't fight back, they will turn America into 1984 and we will have no place to run to. What this means is that we have to contest their domination of the media and academia and Hollywood." Well, he's got some reason here. After all, it does seem to me that the media and academia and Hollywood have been rather taken over by extremist left points of view. We must go after them like they go after us. Yeah. Well, okay. That's the message of the book. Be strong and entrenched in your political views and fight the other guy, and they're going to fight you and you're going to fight them, and so on until one of you wins. If you're into politics, and particularly American politics, you might find this book edifying. I have to say I found it difficult to read, and for that reason I wouldn't really recommend it. But listen to him on YouTube, he speaks well. See you next time. Bye.